I'm joined here in the studio by France 24's Shirli Sitbon from the news desk. Hi there, Shirli. Let's talk about the context of these 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings commemorations. And tell us a little bit about who's taking part and who's not been invited.
Well, 25 heads of state are here, former allies and former enemies at the time, commemorating both the heroism and the atrocities of the war. And there are those who are not here, of course. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, he was not invited. A few weeks ago, the French organizers said, well, that they will invite some representative, but not the Russian president himself. And then a few days ago, they said there will be no representative of Russia at all. Former Soviet Union, obviously a huge player in the D-Day celebration and the D-Day invasion and liberation of Europe. Well, it's of course because of the situation in Ukraine. We remember that a few years ago in 2014, after the beginning of the invasion, the beginning of the war, he was invited, Vladimir Putin. But this time, the divisions were just too strong. Now, you talked about the context, yes, war. The allies want to find some unity to strengthen Ukraine, which is struggling now in war with Russia. Very tense situation. And also, the Middle East with the war there, there's division amongst the allies about how to address this tragedy of the war there, and a lot of criticism about their lack of results and lack of, they didn't have failed so far to find a solution. So this is actually omnipresent. It's all over, and it will be there. Even though they celebrate yesterday's heroes, we're in war now in the world, and there are many things to resolve, and they don't all agree on how to do so.
Okay, so these are events that took place 80 years ago tomorrow. And clearly, for the last 79 years, commemorations have been held to mark the D-Day landings. Just tell us how the nature of the commemorations has sort of evolved over the years.
Yes, they've been happening throughout the years, every year. And at the beginning, we can see the images. There's been pretty low-key military survivors, veterans, the British ambassador. No presidents at the beginning. It took several years for the presidents to arrive. Now, we can see these images. At the time, the idea was to celebrate the heroism, say how atrocious the war was, that should never happen again, how important unity was. And we can see de Gaulle on these images. President de Gaulle, late President de Gaulle, he never came to Normandy, never traveled to Normandy because the French did not play a key role there. So we can see the beginning of the political aspect of this. He went to southern France to commemorate other events for the end of the war, but not to that event. In 1984, world leaders arriving. We saw Ronald Reagan. This became more politicized, 6 presidents. 1994, also a major change with Bill Clinton already talking. This was the end of the Soviet Union, and he said so in his speech, the end of an era of the Soviet Empire, and basically NATO starting to expand. So also this very politically charged speech, and this evolved because following these events where the veterans were hailed and honored, while there were other commemorations where the former enemies were invited. The Germans, we can see Gerhard Schroeder, which Jacques Chirac, the late president, the French president, called his brother, the old enemy now. Well, the two nations are brothers. And Vladimir Putin, which we just saw, was also invited. The first time a Russian president was invited. And we talked about this earlier, 2014, Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin were both here. The idea was to try and resolve the problem. Petro Poroshenko, the former president of Ukraine, was there, and the allies wanted to find a solution to the war. Of course, they did not succeed.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Shirli Sitbon from the France 24 news desk. Thank you.